It's Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. You're listening to the DX Today AI Daily Brief. Today, SpaceX lands a $6.3 billion compute deal as the chipmaker Grok stages a surprise comeback. Google suffers its worst market day in a year amid an AI talent exodus. And Anthropic pulls its most powerful model behind a paywall. Let's get into it.
SpaceX has signed one of the largest computing deals in artificial intelligence to date. The open-source startup, Reflection AI, will tap Elon Musk's Colossus supercomputer in Memphis, paying SpaceX $150 million a month beginning July 1st, a contract worth up to $6.3 billion if it runs through 2029. Reflection gets immediate access to NVIDIA's top-of-the-line GB300 chips to train and serve its models. The agreement turns Colossus, once an in-house training cluster, into a commercial compute platform that has now landed Anthropic, Google, and Cursor as customers. For an open-weight lab, securing frontier-scale compute is the single hardest problem, and Reflection just solved it for the next 3 years.
Now to the chip race.
The AI chipmaker Grok has confirmed a $650 million funding round, a striking second act after NVIDIA bought roughly $20 billion of the startup's assets late last year. The new capital, led by the growth firm Disruptive and the hedge fund Infinitum, both of which hold board seats, will fund a major data center expansion. Grok is pivoting from selling its custom inference chips toward becoming a full provider of artificial intelligence computing power, renting capacity, rather than just hardware. It is a notable reversal. Many assumed the NVIDIA asset sale signaled the end of Grok as an independent force. Instead, the company has restaffed and refunded, betting that demand for fast, low-cost inference will only accelerate through the rest of the decade.
Turning to Silicon Valley.
Alphabet endured its worst day on the stock market in more than a year, with shares closing down about 5% as a wave of AI talent departures rattled investors. Two of Google's most prominent researchers are heading to rivals. Noam Shazir, a co-lead of the Gemini models, is leaving for OpenAI, less than 2 years after Google brought him back. And John Jumper, the DeepMind fellow who shared a 2024 Nobel Prize for the protein folding system AlphaFold, is departing for Anthropic after 9 years. The exits land as competition for elite researchers reaches a fever pitch, and they raised fresh questions on Wall Street about whether Google can hold its lead in the very technology powering its rally.
On to the model makers.
Starting today, Anthropic's most powerful model, Claude Fable 5, is no longer bundled free into its Pro, Max, Team, and Enterprise subscriptions. Going forward, using Fable 5 requires paid usage credits, billed at $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output tokens. The change ends a complimentary window that opened on June 9th, though that window was disrupted when the model went dark for several days, under a temporary United States export control directive. Anthropic says it will restore Fable 5 as a standard subscription feature once compute capacity allows, but has given no timeline. For developers, the model remains live through the API, and the company is positioning the move as a capacity measure rather than a permanent price hike.
Next, enterprise adoption.
In one of OpenAI's largest enterprise deployments yet, Samsung Electronics is rolling out ChatGPT and the Codex coding agent to its entire workforce in Korea and to every employee worldwide in its device experience division. Samsung says the tools will support both technical and non-technical work, spanning software development, marketing, product design, and even manufacturing. Employees are already using ChatGPT to search and analyze information, draft documents, and interpret data. The scale is striking. Samsung Electronics employs more than 100,000 people, and putting frontier AI in front of all of them signals how quickly large manufacturers are moving from pilots to company-wide adoption. It is also a marquee win for OpenAI as it races Google and Anthropic for the enterprise market.
Staying with enterprise AI.
Salesforce is making a major bet on agentic AI, agreeing to acquire the customer service platform Fin, formerly known as Intercom, for about $3.6 billion. Fin builds autonomous support agents that resolve customer tickets without a human in the loop, and Salesforce wants that capability woven into its own Agentforce suite. The deal reflects a broader land grab. Enterprise software giants are racing to own the agent layer, the part of the stack that actually completes tasks rather than just answering questions. For Salesforce, buying rather than building buys speed in a market where rivals like Microsoft and ServiceNow are pushing hard. The acquisition is one of the largest pure-play AI agent deals announced this year, underscoring how central autonomous agents have become to enterprise strategy.
Now to global policy.
At the Group of Seven summit in France, the chief executives of two leading AI labs made an unusual joint appeal. Anthropic's the Dario Amodei and Google DeepMind's Demis Hassabis called on the United States to lead an international coalition to set the rules and standards for advanced artificial intelligence. Their argument is that frontier AI has become a matter of national security and sovereignty, and that allied nations want access to American models without being dependent on a single government's ability to switch them off. The appearance itself was telling. World leaders increasingly treat AI executives as geopolitical actors. The summit underscored a growing tension at the heart of the technology between keeping powerful models open to allies and retaining control over where and how they are used.
Over to robotics.
The German robotics company, Neurorobotics, has raised up to $1.4 billion in one of the largest funding rounds ever for a humanoid robot maker. The investor list reads like a who's who of the AI economy, including the chip giant NVIDIA, Amazon, Qualcomm, and the stablecoin company Tether. Neura builds what it calls cognitive robots, machines that combine physical dexterity with onboard artificial intelligence so they can perceive, reason, and adapt, rather than simply repeat scripted motions. The raise reflects surging conviction that so-called physical AI is the next frontier after chatbots, and that Europe wants a champion in a field currently dominated by American and Chinese firms. With this capital, Neura aims to push humanoid robots from demos toward real deployments.
Another challenger to NVIDIA.
The Microsoft-backed chip startup D-Matrix says its new Corsair processor, built specifically for AI inference, can run models up to 10 times faster, 3 times cheaper, and as much as 5 times more energy efficiently than a standalone graphics chip when the two are paired. Inference, the work of actually running a trained model to answer queries, is becoming the largest and fastest growing slice of AI computing. And a parade of startups now smells opportunity in a market NVIDIA has long owned. D-Matrix's pitch centers on a memory architecture designed to keep data close to the processor, cutting the energy wasted shuttling information back and forth. Whether it can win real share against an entrenched NVIDIA remains the open question, but investors are clearly intrigued.
Now, the view from China.
China is preparing a sweeping state-backed plan, reported to be worth around $295 billion, to fund a national build-out of artificial intelligence. The program would channel enormous public resources into data centers, domestic chips, and AI infrastructure, an answer to the hyperscale spending underway across American technology giants. The move underscores how thoroughly AI has become a contest between governments, not just companies. With United States export controls limiting China's access to the most advanced Western chips, Beijing is leaning harder on homegrown silicon and sheer capital scale to stay competitive. Analysts caution that money alone does not close a technology gap, but a commitment of this size would reshape the global balance of AI compute over the next several years.
Across to Europe.
Europe's leading AI champion, Mistral, used its first-ever company conference to lay out sweeping ambitions. The French lab launched Vibe, a unified agent platform that merges its chatbot with its coding tools for enterprise productivity and software development, rebranding its consumer assistant in the process. Mistral also announced an expansion into industrial AI aimed at manufacturers and a new inference data center south of Paris, part of a multi-billion euro infrastructure push across France and Sweden. The strategy is clear. Mistral wants to be a full-stack European alternative to the American giants, controlling everything from models to compute while keeping data on the continent. With sovereignty now a selling point, Mistral is betting that independence from United States providers is itself a competitive advantage.
And finally, the plumbing.
A smaller raise points to where enterprise AI is heading. The startup Jetify has raised $24 million to help companies arm their AI agents with deep context about their own business. The problem Jetify targets is a familiar one. General-purpose models are powerful, but they often lack the specific institutional knowledge, the data, processes, and history that make an agent genuinely useful inside a particular company. Jetify's platform aims to feed that context to agents automatically, so they act less like clever interns and more like seasoned employees. The round, modest beside the week's billion-dollar headlines captures a real shift. As businesses move from experimenting with AI to deploying it, the value is migrating toward the unglamorous plumbing that makes agents reliable.
That's your briefing for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. For DX Today, stay curious.